Before I begin, I would just like to say thank you on behalf of the Minkowicz family and the Lieberman families to the following people without whom this memorial and tribute to Rashi could certainly not have taken place. To Jocelyn Shorowitz, to Dressler's Funeral Services, to the Marriott Wynwood, to Ella Shupak of Blue Orchid Productions, to Atlanta Fever, Eddie Delgado and Mello, Kathy Schwartz, Party Express, Betsy Kramer, and Alex Gorenstein, and Alison Pollack, Planning Makes Perfect, and also to Chai P. King. Thank you very much to all of you for your contribution. It is truly appreciated. The family has requested that you please remain in your seats until the completion of the program, which should be a really amazing and fantastic program, and we should be done within a couple of hours, so please remain in your seats. And also, if you could please turn your cell phones to silent, or even if you dare turn them off. Honored guests and friends, I would like to welcome you to Alpharetta, Georgia, to what has increasingly become, over the past 15 years, a beacon of Jewish light in this world. I wish I could say that it gives me great pleasure to welcome you here this evening. However, the tragic circumstances bringing us together do not give one any pleasure, except to say that merely 3 weeks after Rashi's extremely premature passing, the impact of her short life, the very positive effect of her too short life, have been felt and heard across the world. And the massive impact that she has had on literally tens of thousands of our brothers and sisters can serve as some small measure of solace against the background of this very tragic tale. I was speaking with Menachem Posner, a writer with Chabad.org, early in the morning of the tragedy, as he was putting together an article for publication. We were discussing inspiration, and I was telling him in general terms how Rashi and Rabbi Hershey had inspired us when he asked me, Anthony, tell me something specific, a situation where Rashi inspired you. I couldn't think of a specific at the time and at that terrible moment, and may have responded as I'm wont to do with an expletive that rhymes with an animal that goes quack, and to which he immediately responded, oh, you're from South Africa. However, I have now had time to ponder this question and discuss it in depth with my wife Tracy and my 3 children. And I cannot talk of Rashi without including Rabbi Hershey, as they were truly a team. I often spoke with Rabbi Hershey, and he would say something to me like, I was thinking, and I knew it wasn't he was thinking, it was Rashi said something to him. Or he would say, Rashi told me, and I would know that he was thinking. But together, they guided and continue to guide us on a magnificent spiritual journey, replete with arduous mountains and gorgeous valleys, torrid rapids and stunning waterfalls and streams. A 15-year journey which has made us better individuals, happier people, and a concrete and content family unit. I know too with absolute certainty that we are only one of many, many families to experience this growth through their wonderful leadership. The common theme that formed the basis for their guidance, counseling, and leadership is one of shalom, peace. They always promoted that peace amongst each other should prevail. There was no point in pursuing any journey, no matter what that journey was, spiritual or otherwise, if it caused turmoil. And this was something that Rashi and the rabbi have always practiced publicly amongst each other, their family, and the community at large. Whenever one would ask her advice on an issue of Yiddishkeit, Rashi would find a healthy balance with careful consideration paid to your spiritual growth and always with the Torah as her guide. She always made you comfortable with where you were holding while gently prodding you to keep growing, praising your achievements, and certainly never chiding your failures. Our Chabad encompasses many aspects: a shul, Hebrew school, a summer camp. We also provide guidance and leadership and spiritual leadership to many unaffiliated with any of these aforementioned facilities. Our family has been and continues to be involved with every facet of services provided by the Chabad of North Fulton and the Minkowitzes. I have served as the Gabbai of our shul for over 14 years. Tracy has worked on many committees and volunteer programs. Our 3 children have at some time or another attended Camp Gan Izzy since 2001. Our daughter Shayna, together with her great friend Henya, were of the first students at the Torah Tots preschool over 8 years ago, while our 2 sons currently teach at the Hebrew school. We have spent a considerable amount of time involved with and contributing to this community, but we can truly say that what we have given is a fraction of what we have received. It saddens me that I will never be able to thank Rashi for all that she has provided, and hope that tonight's tribute can in some small way express our love and appreciation, both personally and as a community, to this remarkable Rebbetzin and Shlucha. Pirkei Avos, the ethics of our fathers, in chapter 1, verse 2 reads, Shimon the righteous states that the world rests on 3 things: Al HaTorah, Va'al HaAvodah, Va'al Gemilas Chasidim. Torah, prayer, and deeds of kindness. Our program tonight will encapsulate all 3 of these attributes. On that note, I would like to introduce Rabbi Lezer Gurkov, a classmate of Rabbi Hershey and rabbi in London, Ontario, to introduce the first element of Torah.
Ladies and gentlemen, I stand before you today as a representative of our class. Rabbi Hershey's former classmates came together shortly after Rashi's passing, and I must say that in my lifetime I have never seen an outpouring of love or unity that has faced a tragedy of the proportions that we've seen over the last 3 weeks. And so a number of initiatives have been undertaken by the members of our class, and chief among them is to commission the writing of a Torah scroll in Rashi's memory. This will be a living Torah, but it will also be a Torah of unity. And how fitting and appropriate that will be for the family to have a Torah, for her children, for her husband, for her parents to have a Torah that will represent her and her spirit. Because indeed, the Jewish mystics teach that every Jewish soul is represented by a letter in the Torah. And when we hold the Torah in our hands, we hold in the palm of our hands the entire Jewish nation, the collective Jewish soul. Rashi has touched Jews far and wide, far beyond the walls of this community. And so indeed this Torah will touch the entire Jewish nation. The commissioning of this Torah scroll was at the initiative of Rabbi Hershey's classmates, but indeed we have decided that we wanted to open this opportunity to the entire Jewish community across the world. And in a number of weeks you will receive information and the Rashi Torah website will be opened and offer the opportunity for each and every one to contribute to the commissioning, to the writing of this Torah scroll, so that we can each have a part in giving back some of what we have received. Tonight, to open the memorial event, we begin with the element of Torah. We'll invite the scribe, the sofer, Rabbi Moshe Klein, who is here with us tonight from New York, to begin to initiate the writing of the Torah with the very first letter, the letter Bet. We will ask Rashi's husband, Rashi's children, and Rashi's parents to come and be a part of the beginning of the writing of her Torah. Thank you. It's difficult throughout the room to see what is going on at the front. Essentially, Rabbi Klein, the sofer, the scribe, has outlined the letters that Rabbi Hershey, his children, and parents will fill in. So they will begin the writing of the scroll. It will take roughly 10 to 11 months for the scroll to be completed. And at some point toward the end of this year, there will be a ceremony of completion, a Siyum Sefer Torah. When the Talmudic sage Rabbi Hanania ben Tradion was executed by the Emperor Hadrian for the crime of teaching the Torah, his body was wrapped in the parchment of the Torah scroll and then was put on fire. His students turned to him as the flames began to lick his body and the heat began to rise and said, "Rabbi, what do you see?" It was at this point that the rabbi responded with a proclamation that has echoed across the corridors of history. He said, "I see the parchment is burning, but the letters are dancing in the air." The Jewish body is a parchment, and Rashi's body is no longer here. But tonight, as all nights, her soul hovers in the atmosphere, and we, the people she has touched, dance upon the air.
On this pillar of Torah, there is a Jewish tradition to study Mishnah in memory of a loved one. The entire book of Mishnah was divided and studied by the family, as well as the Atlanta Chabad rabbis and many other private people. I am honored to invite Rashi's father, Rabbi Chaim Meir Lieberman, who will make the Siyum, the actual completion of the Mishnayos.
The last tractate of the entire Shas, of the entire Talmud of the Mishnah, is the tractate of Uktzim, which discusses the complicated laws of what can be eaten, what will not become impure if it became impure, what can become impure on food and food items. The last Mishnah discusses the concept of honey, which in itself is liquid. It's a food, and it can also become the liquid that can cause a food to become impure. And the Mishnah discusses at what point it's food and at what point it's considered liquid. The last Mishnah of the whole Talmud discusses the repayment that a Jew gets for observing and for learning and observing the whole Torah. And the Mishnah says in the name of Rabbi Yeshua, the son of Levi, that eventually God Almighty will inherit for every righteous person 310 worlds, 310 times of comfort or of accomplishment for this person that actually accomplished learning the Torah and observes the Torah. And it brings a passage of Mishlei where the Torah, where he says, I will inherit to my loved ones I have a yesh, I will inherit to my loved ones yesh, the presence, the being, and their homes I will fill up. The word yesh is made up of two letters, a yud and a shin, and together it equals 310. And this is the basis for the concept that as someone who accomplished and learned the whole Torah and observed all these details that he learned over this whole, within the Talmud, he will have this special accomplishment that will eventually stand in good standing for him in the world to come. I want for a moment to pause here and talk for a moment about our daughter, Rashi, who, as far as a father is concerned, we had a very cordial relationship, friendly father and daughter relationship over many, many years. I probably spoke to her at least once a week, if not more. We had some very pleasant discussions. We even argued over issues. And I have to say that I myself learned so much from her way of thinking, from her approach to issues, family issues, community issues, and so on. The word yesh means it's here, we have it. I would like to say that Rashi has this Shai Olamis, has this yesh, and continues to be the spirit, in spirit with us now, and will continue to be with us in the future. I wanted to share with you just a little detail of Rashi's life that I was reminded while we were sitting Shiva, that so much showed so much of who and how she thought and who she was and how and her way with people and the community. She was still a little girl, probably in her younger teens. She was a popular girl in school. She had many, many friends. She would go to their friends' homes. They would come around to us. Most of the friends were girls from school, from class, from the community, whom we knew the families very, very well. One time she came home and she told her mother and me that she had a discussion with a mother of one of her friends who had told her that she felt that it was not appropriate for her to be friendly with a particular group of girls. And this mother was concerned that her friendship with those girls may somehow be influenced on Rashi, and thereby may influence her daughter. And she was cautioning Rashi about this friendship that she had with those girls. And I remember her coming home and telling us that she told this mother in a very nice way that now that you've mentioned it, I am resolved to continue this relationship with these girls, and I hope that I will be of a good influence on them rather than they being a bad influence on me. It is now so many years later, and I can tell you all the girls are, thank God, married with their own families and living beautiful lives, Hasidic lives. One of them, if I'm not mistaken, is actually a shlucha in a really far off land, and the regards that my wife and I get from that family is overwhelming. If I remember, probably if anybody this mother was referring to was probably to that girl. But this was Rashi taking everything on her own, understanding that what her job in life is to be an influence of one way or another. She was not deterred by any negative comments. She just went full force forward, and in the end, she accomplished everything. Yes. Lahanchil oihavai yesh, that we inherit, the loved ones are inherited by actually being here. Her way of life will constantly be remembered by us, the parents, by her siblings, by her in-laws, by her community, and by anybody that was touched by her. The Mishnah goes on to say that Reb Shimon ben Chalafta says that God Almighty did not find a vessel that can hold blessing as great as the vessel of peace, and is based on a pasuk, Hashem oz la'amo yitein, Hashem yivarech esami b'shalom. This too was one of Rashi's virtues. Any time that she felt that is going to cause any issues, she ran from that as far as possible. She continued doing what she had to do, but she did not get involved in any conflict in any way whatsoever. I will finish this Mishnah by saying, this is a pasuk which says that God gives a present to the Jews, the mitzvahs, and that present is what we've just learned. This gift is what we've learned in detail, and by learning all the Mishnahs of the Talmud.
To continue with the next pillar, that of tefillah, prayer, I would like to introduce Rashi Minkowicz, who will be reading a chapter from Sefer Tehillim, King David's Book of Psalms. It will also be displayed on the screen in order for everybody to read along with him.
I'm going to do it in honor of Shaya. And you can all read together with me. This is Shaya with his mother, and I'm saying it. He appointed me to do the Tehillim for him. Mizmor leDavid Adonai roi lo yachzor bino es deshe yar bitzeni al mei menuchos yenahaleni nafshi yeshoivev yancheni b'magle tzedek leman shemo gam ki elech begeitz almoves lo irara ki ata imadi Shiftecha umishantecha hema yenachamuni Tarech lefonai shulchan neged tzodiroi, Dishanta v'Hashem en roshi kosi revoya, Ach tov v'chesed yudefuni kol yemei chayoi, V'shafti beveis Adonai lorech yamim.
Onto the third pillar, that of Gemilas Chasadim, acts of kindness. We will hear from several speakers now who will share some thoughts about Rashi's Gemilas Chasadim. To streamline things, I will introduce the first speaker, and the others will follow and introduce themselves. It gives me great pleasure to introduce the head shaliach of Georgia and rabbi of Beth Tefillah in Atlanta, Rabbi Yossi New.
Good evening, everyone. It is my honor to stand here as a representative of all of the shluchim, the Rebbe's emissaries to the state of Georgia. They say that you can only truly measure the worth and value of a person's life after he or she passes on. Our rabbis state, Tzadikim afilu b'misasan nikru chayim, that the righteous, even after they pass on, are referred to as alive. The Hebrew word for alive, chayim, is actually a plural word. The singular form, the word chai, means alive. And you know, you can be alive and not have a life. Chayim, a life, in the plural word, is defined by how a person's life impacts another person's life. And if that is the measure of a person's life, then Rashi Minkowicz is still truly alive. Her legacy has become a global phenomenon. In hundreds of communities around the world, women are studying now and enjoying the program called Torah and Tea, which she initiated here in Alpharetta. Within the family of shluchim, of Chabad emissaries, there is now a spirit of sharing. And one Chabad rabbi or rebbitzin will freely share his or her resources, programs on the internet so that shluchim all over the world can benefit from it. And that's because they heard that Rashi Minkowicz would always do that. The catalyst for all of this, aside from Rashi herself, is her dear husband, Rabbi Hershey, and the entire Minkowicz and Lieberman families. Their strength, their courage, and their optimism during these most challenging times has been nothing short of awe-inspiring. You know, they say that the optimist looks at the cup as half full and the pessimist as the cup half empty. But the truth is, there's more to it than that. It really depends on your relationship with the cup. If you're drinking from the cup, you'll always see it as half empty. If you're pouring into the cup, you'll always see it as half full. Those who are in life for the taking, for the receiving, it's never enough, and they are pessimistic. but those who see that their primary role and function in life is to contribute, is to pour into the cup, they will always see the cup as half full. All of us would understand and forgive the Minkowicz and Lieberman families if they chose at a time like this to withdraw and to become, if you will, insular. But they haven't. They continue to pour into the cup. They continue to contribute to family and to community. The very first Torah and tea after Rashi's passing was led by her mother. And on the very first Shabbos that the Minkowicz family returned to Alpharetta, the children insisted that they have guests at their Shabbos table. My friends, Rabbi Hershey has asked me to share with you, to be assured that the legacy of Rashi will continue and that Chabad of North Fulton will continue to thrive with the leadership of Rabbi Hershey and Rashi and their family members. And we, the Shluchim, the Rebbe's emissaries here in the state of Georgia, will do our small part to contribute and to ensure that this Chabad Center will continue to flourish. And may the cup of Rabbi Hershey and his family may continue to be filled, and may it speedily in our days overflow with blessings for the family, for the community, for all of Israel, so that Pesach this year will be a celebration not just of the exodus of the past, but of an exodus for the Jewish people and for all of God's peace-loving children speedily in our days.
Hi, my name is Lori Hunt. I have been a member of Chabad of North Fulton since I was 5 years old, and I feel so blessed to be part of such a special community. These past few weeks, I've been reflecting a lot on how different my life would be if it weren't for Rabbi Minkowicz and Rashi. Before Chabad of Alpharetta, I had no concept of religious Judaism or any of the mitzvot. I loved eating pepperoni, shellfish, crab, and all types of food. After my first year of Camp Gan Israel at age 5, as one of the first campers, I learned the kosher song from Rashi, and I was inspired to stop mixing milk and meat, stop eating shellfish, and only eat kosher meat. I enjoyed Camp Gan Israel so much that I looked forward to returning every year. I loved and looked up to Rashi and the counselors. I wanted to be just like them. One day, when coming home from camp, I asked my mom why all of the counselors wore long-sleeve shirts and long skirts. When she told me that they were dressing modestly and had to cover their knees and elbows, I asked her if she could buy me elbow pads and knee pads so that I could cover my knees and elbows just like the counselors. People always ask me why I chose to be religious on my own. I chose at such a young age. I was 12. When people ask me this, I never really have a good answer. I always tell people that I wish I could say some awesome story about how I felt a strong connection to God and it inspired me, but all I can say is it looked cool and it was fun when I went to synagogue. My rabbi, his wife, and his family made it look cool, so I did it. But I also tell them that it's the most amazing thing about my life and one of my favorite things about myself. My life has so much depth and meaning now because of my Judaism and connection to God and my religion. I always think about how grateful I am that I'm a religious Jew. I remember one of the last conversations I had with Rashi. She shared with me how her goal for Hebrew school and camp is to make Judaism fun, because in 10 years, the kids won't remember a thing they learned, so she wants them to look back on their experience with happy memories. These are the exact memories that were provided for me because of Rashi and Rabbi Minkowicz that have given me the incredible life that I have today. In the past, although I kept Shabbos and was becoming more religious, I had struggled with my connection to Judaism and with adding mitzvot. I was afraid of becoming more sneous or growing in my Judaism because I associated being religious with having a very serious life. Sometimes I felt that religious people didn't have much joy. Rashi's joy and attitude toward life showed me that I can be religious and live a happy, fun life. And what I realized when I became more religious was that my Judaism gives me an even happier and enhanced life. Even today, I continue to get more religious. I have many chavrutas throughout the week. I participate in a girls' learning program called Midrash at Maryland. I've been dressing more sneezely. I've become more kosher, daven more often, and so much more. When people post on Facebook that they're adding a mitzvah in honor of Rashi, I think about how every single mitzvah I do is in the honor of Rashi, because if it weren't for her, I wouldn't be doing any of these mitzvot. Thank you so much, Rashi and Rabbi Minkowicz, for everything you've given me. I'm so grateful and blessed to be a part of Chabad of Alpharetta, and I'm so proud to be a religious Jew. Without you both in my life, I would not be the person that I am today.
Good evening. My name is Dina Schusterman. I actually wanted to do this. I want to speak about Rashi. I want to share with you what a unique individual she was. As I thought about what I would say, I wasn't sure anymore. It's too hard. But I'm doing it anyway. Everyone standing here tonight has a difficult task. So I will plod through and hope to give you a sense of Rashi as a friend. I miss Rashi terribly. We all do. Many of you who had a relationship with Rashi, who are in constant contact with her, know she had a unique ability to connect with so many different people, giving each of us advice, ideas, musings on daily life, or whatever it is we were looking for or needed. Now I, and many of us here, hear a deafening silence on our WhatsApp, texts, phone calls, and at tea. I'm here this evening as Rashi's colleague, friend, and perhaps even extended family. When you are a shlucha, an emissary of the Chabad movement, taking a job in a community dramatically different than the one in which you were raised can be daunting at first. Although Alpharetta is now the place that Rashi would, without a doubt, call home, back then, Brooklyn, New York, to Alpharetta, Georgia, were worlds apart. It was far away from the family that Rashi cherished and loved. And as much as they came to visit, and Rashi would go visit them, roots must be planted in the new soil, and new close attachments were formed. As shluchais, we also need to find our own people, perhaps to be on our emergency forms, or for last-minute carpool cancellations, for Sunday get-togethers, for various questions that involve the local scene. And yes, for a place to farm your children out when you are out of town. So we create good friends and communities which share in this part of our life. Rashi has so many of you as friends, family, and as her community. She relied on you, she leaned on you, you were her people. I think I became Rashi's family when her eldest son Mendel was born. I shopped for his entire layette. You see, her mom had a newborn of her own and was coming in for the bris, and Hershey was busy with mom and new baby. I don't remember if Rashi had a car seat and a bassinet, but she certainly did not have sheets, blankets, stretchies, diapers, and the like. I was only too happy to take Hershey's credit card and shop for it all. It is from then on that we have shared in every step of our lives. We shared every simcha. I remember, even before Rashi had children of her own, she showed up to the Upshurnish, the third birthday party traditional haircutting ceremony of my oldest son, with the most humongous gift bag. Not just the toy that cannot be wrapped so stands in a bow, but in one of those super duper large gift bags. And in it was the toy that my son loved best, a Bubba lawnmower. It was June, and a Bubba lawnmower was, in retrospect, so obviously the best kind of gift for a just-turned 3-year-old boy in Hotlanta. I tell you this as an example of how Rashi had the stunning ability to know just what a person might need. Because Rashi and Rebbe Hershey were so dedicated to this community, they did not take leaving their community for a Shabbos lightly. That was reserved for the much anticipated and beloved family time in New York, Florida, or even Texas. But they did come for Shabbos to our son's bar mitzvah, because that is what you do for your family away from family. And so, emulating Rashi, it wasn't easy to pack up and move into a small space with young children. We did this for Mendel's bar mitzvah. We can all learn from Rashi. Get up, pack, go, leave your comfort zone. Take the Minkmobile so that you can enjoy time with your beloved family. If you look at our singular and extraordinary, seemingly impossible job descriptions, they're almost identical. Mom to 8, which might include chauffeur, chef, therapist of all stripes, personal shopper, etc. And then over the years, all of the other roles for which there might have been no training other than enthusiasm. That included camp director, Hebrew school director, preschool director, women's programming, women's classes, mommy and me, bat mitzvah club, mikvah classes, mikvah attendant, and Rashi going on to build her own mikvah. But actually, to me, there was a difference in the way that we went about the work that is so similar. Sure, we both work hard, but there was something remarkable about Rashi. If you knew her, you knew there was something unusual about her. She had an almost unparalleled vigor, enthusiasm, and energy. Something within herself was driving her. Something that, as a friend, I did not always fully understand. Rashi worked so hard, and all because she would have it no other way. Rashi worked efficiently. There was a way to how she did her job that was organized and practical. She had checklists and tasks, and they were all accomplished one by one, and new tasks made their way onto the list. Everything was done with class, not overdone or underdone, but just right, and there was always a methodology to it all that I felt I could learn from. Another of Rashi's talents was that she was often able to take an esoteric or abstract Jewish concept and make it real in her classes. I see this as a reflection of Rashi's extreme intelligence. There was an authentic leadership quality to Rashi. She empowered the women in her community, and then she embraced the job they did with warmth and acceptance. She did not look back and say, could have, would have, should have. But most of all, it was her relaxed, easygoing warmth and friendliness that were a demonstration of her emotional intelligence. When someone had a question, she always took the time to answer it thoroughly. She took calls from random people asking for advice. Nobody was beneath her. And she shared everything: her wisdom, knowledge, time, clothing, recipes, and strong opinions. She was completely a person of the people and anti-elitism of any sort. There was not friend Rashi, Rebbetzin Rashi, sister Rashi, and boss Rashi. She was the exact same way with everyone, completely straightforward, laser sharp. She wanted you to be the best person you could be, and she would help you get there. She would inspire you, but first she met you where you were at, accepted you for who you are. This even extended to her children. She truly accepted them for who they are and reveled in them as the complete and individual people God gave to her to cherish and hold dear. My loves is how she oft described them. Despite her almost absurd load and schedule, she dressed her kids so precisely. I found a text I wrote to Rashi after her sister Mushka's wedding. Amazing, Rashi. You and your sisters look beautiful. Great color for you. Your family looks so organized, balbatish, dignified. They look like they have a mother who cares. What more can one ask for? And adorable, too. She would moan that she has nothing for her children to wear, and she didn't. She was busy getting ready for camp. And then, as if magically, she would share the family picture, and there they were, looking like the sweetest, cutest, most put-together family ever. It looked effortless, but she was kind enough and humble enough to make sure that you didn't think so. Her grumbling from the week before told you that she had to make the effort to get it done. Perhaps this was a language of pregnancy just before she birthed a new spurt of accomplishment. Rashi didn't want to take the chance that someone might feel overwhelmed from all of her productivity. She made sure that you knew it took hard work to get it done right. And Rashi would always share the end product with you. I think she did this as a life example. She was telling us something. It takes hard work, and don't for a second think that good things come easy. In every interaction I had with her, she was so refreshingly human. It was the struggle, and then the work, and then the results, and she was successful at so much of it. Rashi thought the world of Rabbi Hershey. There were two halves of one whole. In one of our hundreds of text exchanges, I asked Rashi, "What are you doing Xmas weekend?" She replied that she had a house full because her friend Tracy Shapiro's son was having a bar mitzvah. My reply is, "So you don't want me and my 5 children for Shabbos while Elio goes out of town?" Her response, "I wish, but where would I put you? As it is, all of my kids will be sleeping in my room on the floor. Then, would love to have you." About a week later, I'm not sure what transpired, the next text, I'm telling her that my 2-year-old is talking about going to the Minkowitz's all week. He is so excited. And then I ask, "Is Hershey okay with us coming?" She asks, "Why?" To which I reply, "Dunno, overwhelming?" Her response, "Hershey, overwhelmed? Wrong guy. Nothing overwhelms him. Surely not a house full of guests." Alpharetta was the go-to place for camp counselors. The care with which Rashi ran her camp took care of her counselors was exemplary. A parent of one of her counselors had another daughter of counselor age. She wanted her daughter to go specifically to observe the relationship between Rashi and Hershey. Her older daughter had expressed such amazement at the teamwork, mutual respect, and the fun they had with each other. We were both pregnant together this last go-round, and it was a difficult one for both of us. Rashi was the only reason I made it through out the other end with sanity. We were there for each other all hours of day and night. She did not make it to visit me and meet my twins until about 6 weeks after her altar was born. She came over one night and peeked in on my babies, so thrilled for me. She looked up at my dining room table piled high with laundry. She asked me if I was packing to go on a trip. I replied simply that it was the laundry. And there came her brutal honesty. "I can see you have lowered your standards." Thank you, Rashi. Thank you for this acknowledgement that I had standards to lower. This was Rashi. She was right there, keeping it real. I am going to miss that so much. During the year before this one, Rashi's Torah and tea class was small. Perhaps 3 to 8 women would show up. Each week, when it was over, she would wonder if all the hard work preparing, baking, and getting her brood settled before 8 was worth all of the hard work. She would oft ask, "Am I making an impact?" Oh, Rashi, what an impact. You kept going. You didn't stop, and look at the impact you have made. One thing that gives me a small measure of meaning in this whole incomprehensible challenge of Rashi leaving us all so early is seeing her as someone I was meant to learn from, someone we are to be inspired by. Rashi was so inspiring in her lifetime. Now that she is gone, I can still hear her. She was vocal about everything, her health, her large family, her priorities, sticking up for the castaway. And what I don't hear, I remember her kindness, humanity, generosity, guiding and teaching along the way, inspiring us all. Orly Kaufman. Orly.
My name is Orly Kaufman. I moved here to Alpharetta, Georgia 6 years ago from Israel. I am not comfortable publicly speaking, but I'll do my best because I really think that this is important. I wanted to share a short story with you. About a year after I moved to Alpharetta, and just me and my husband, we had no family here, I began seeking for some kind of connection to the Jewish community. I called my father in Israel, and He told me, my dear child, wherever you are in the world, always go to Chabad. I'm sorry. I went to Chabad on Erev Rosh Hashanah, and after prayer, everybody started going their own way. I felt very alone, and suddenly I felt a nice warm hand on my shoulder. I was approached by Rashi, who asked me who I was with, and as soon as I replied, she immediately said, "You're coming over to my house and we're having Rosh Hashanah dinner." I cannot believe how a complete stranger could just take me into their home. I did not know that she was the rabbi's wife. And that night, she really touched me and touched my soul and affected my life in a way that I will never forget. It's some kind of a circle because today, 6 years after, I am a police detective for Alpharetta. And about 2 weeks ago, I got called out to respond to a medical call. When I heard the address, I was hoping that I'm wrong. But as soon as I got to the house, I understood what happened. I have to say this was the hardest investigation I had to do. But seeing Rabbi Hershey and how brave he was, and I was asked if I needed a replacement, and I just knew that it was my time to be there and to pay her my respects. She was a true Eshet Chayil, a wonderful person, a great mother and wife, and a wonderful friend. I want to share with you the email that I wrote to my family after that Rosh Hashanah dinner. This is dated September 8th, 2010. My dear family, this year I decided to finally pay a visit to the Chabad Center over here in Alpharetta. I went by myself as Rick had to work and did not know what to expect. After the prayer was over, everyone started to leave, and I started to think it was a bad idea since everyone had their families to speak with, and I just felt even more lonely. As I was leaving, I was approached by a very nice young lady and invited over to her house for dinner. Later, I found out that she is the rabbi's wife and that I actually spoke to the rabbi once on the phone when I first moved here, when Abba gave me his number. Over at the house were more people from all walks of life, and one lady even spoke Hebrew. Now I have new Jewish friends. I have a place to go for holidays and Shabbat dinner. I had a wonderful home-cooked traditional food meal. I went home after dinner, but not before being stopped at the door with boxes of food to take home. I wanted to say thank you, Abba, for suggesting that I go there, but not pushing me, as you know, like how I do things in my own time. What a great Erev Rosh Hashanah. I miss you and love you. Chag Sameach. Thank you, Rashi, for touching me and influencing my life, and I can only hope to do the same for others. Yeh Zichra Baruch.
I am an uncle of Rashi's, from my dear wife, Shendi, the younger sister of Sarah. I mean, just look at the crowd here, and you could see how one soul, one person can touch so many. And as one who was honored to sit at the feet of the Lubavitcher Rebbe for many years. I was blessed to be one of the team that memorized and published the Rebbe's words. On Shabbat and holidays, these words had to be memorized because there were no tape recorders used, no notes were taken. Were it not for the Rebbe, Rashi and Hershey, Rav Hershey would not be here, and none of you would be here as well in this room. So I think it's appropriate to share something from the Rebbe himself, the Mishaleach, the one who, as a visionary of our time, in this 21st century, we're just beginning to see the grand big picture that he foresaw with communities in Alpharetta and Atlanta and all over the world. Something that the Rebbe shared that I think we can all learn from in times like this. Everyone on this earth wants to know the secret of Jewish survival. Anyone that goes visits the Dalai Lama, the first question, if they're Jewish, he asks them is, how did you as a people without an empire, without a country till just recently, without money, how did you maintain, and not just maintain, but thrive? And no one really knows the answer. But I believe the answer is right here in this room right now. And we should never have to be tested to discover this answer. But 44 years ago, another tragic event. Rashi is a namesake. We're grandmothers. Same age, in the year 1969, second day of Sukkot, her soul returned to its place. Her name was Rashi. Rashi Lieberman, then came Minkowicz, the first Rashi named after her. We don't know God's mysterious ways, but we do know this. That after that passing, Sarah, Rashi's mother, wrote a very heartfelt letter to the Rebbe. And the Rebbe responded in one of the rare type of correspondence that is extremely appropriate for times like this. And it comes down to the paradox where when you suffer great loss, especially inexplicable mystery of a premature death, where 27 people were sitting shiva. I'm not saying to be dramatic. This doesn't happen every day. I mean, my heart is broken when I look at parents losing a child. And 8 beautiful children. And 16 siblings. And the rest of us all broken in our own way. And we don't withdraw. We're not afraid of facing the abyss and facing darkness. We faced it many times. And this is the paradox, and this is the gist of what the Rebbe wrote to Sarah and to all of us. That in some strange way, we cry like no one else cries, but we also know how to build like no one else knows how to build. Because you see, when people are faced with such type of tragedy, often they become broken, bitter, resentful, and they pass it on to their children and to their grandchildren. I look at a family that suffered a great loss 44 years ago. I see one of the most healthy, wholesome, filled with vitality. Rashi wasn't born in a vacuum. Everything you just heard here from all the speakers comes from somewhere. It comes from parents that are dedicated to something that's greater than they are. And though we suffer and have suffered as Jews, we've never become sufferers. I remember once asking Eli Wiesel, who was a friend of mine through my father, I said to him, is it true that in the Holocaust, during the genocide of 6 million of our best and brightest, 1.5 million innocent children, is it true that Jews would sing Ani Mamen, I believe, with complete faith as they marched to the concentration camps, to the gas chambers? She said he wasn't in that part of the camp, but he did hear Kaddish, and he heard Shema, and he heard different type of Hebrew prayers. And you have to wonder, which is what I asked him, how is it possible in the darkest and darkest of times, where God was hidden like no other period in history. His chosen people, to leave them that way, not just being murdered in that fashion, in the most obscene, dehumanized way, makes our blood boil. How could a Jew be thanking God and saying Kaddish and saying Shema and singing Ani Maamin, I believe, with complete faith? And what he told me is something I heard from many Holocaust survivors, and that is, he said, because we Jews proclaim and declare the following: you can take our bodies, but you can't take our souls. You can take our physical lives, but you can't take our beliefs. You may kill our material beings, but you cannot kill our spirits. And if it won't be us, it will be our children. And if it won't be our children, it will be our grandchildren. And you look at what happened. Just as an example, after 1945, 1950, everyone wrote the obituary for the Jewish people. And look at the Renaissance. Just look at this room. Look what's going on in Russia. Look what's going on in Israel. Because no matter what we faced, we were able to dig deeper and know that something greater can come out of it. It's not an answer. We don't have answers to why things like this happen. No one can give an answer for something like that. But we ask the question, not why, but what do we do about it? So I want to suggest to us all, and this is coming straight from the Lubavitcher Rebbe, who was the driving force behind Rashi, behind her dear husband, may he live in healthy many years, behind their children, behind all the families, behind us all here, is that we cry, but we build. We take our grief, we take our pain, we take all the negative energy and we channel it and harness it into a greater force of good than ever before. Anything less would be a disgrace and a dishonor to Rashi and her soul. You know, people ask, where does a soul go to upon passing? You know, that big question, where does the soul go to? We all wonder that. And when you think about it, the question itself is based on a very, I would even say, arrogant assumption. And that is that we think we are where it's at, so we wonder where the soul goes to. Maybe we're not where it's at. So I always use, I guess it's somewhat humorous type of imaginary dialogue between a refrigerator and electricity. And the refrigerator asks electricity, when they pull the plug on me, where do you go? Where does the electricity go? And the electricity looks at an incredulous way at the refrigerator and says, what kind of chutzpah, what kind of nerve do you have such a question? They just invented you a little box a year, 100 years ago, 200 years ago, and now you think you're the center of existence and you ask me where I go? I was always around, I'll always be around, before you were here and after you'll be gone. The fact that my energy, my electricity was contained in this little box for a short while does not mean I don't exist. It means I go back to my space or beyond space. So though we don't feel it, but a soul is here with us. Rashi is right here with us. The tragedy, the pain is that we can't see it, that we can't feel it. That's what the Rebbe writes in that letter. The pain is we feel a disconnect, but there's no disconnect the other way around. So if we want to do something to honor a soul, yes, we cry for the loss, but we also remember that the soul is eternal, and it will be returned to us. And what we need to do now is build. So not just maintain activities in Alpharetta, but to build in ways that are unprecedented. It may sound strange, why can't we cry at least for a year or two? Cry as much as you like, but take the tears and turn them into seeds of growth. That's what we all should do. Include myself, I include us all. And that is the best and healthiest way to channel pain, to take it and turn it into a revolution of good. And Rashi's soul definitely will give strength to all those that she always gave strength to and continues to do so. We still cry because at the end of the day there is a disconnect. But we do not give up. As I said, we may suffer, but we don't become sufferers. And we become living examples of what Rashi's grandparents did, her parents, her husband, the children, as God will bless them. We become healthier people, stronger people, and we do not allow tragedy to perpetuate itself in destroying our lives, God forbid, but on the contrary. I can see from the turnout here that I pray and hope that you take this inspiration and don't let it dissipate, because all inspiration dissipate, time does its thing. We should take this energy, take this moment, and never forget it, and turn it into something tremendously positive. Either in your personal life to commit to something Jewish, something that Rashi was committed to, communally. Everybody can come up with ideas. We're all pretty innovative when we need to be. May that be a blessing to Reb Hershey and to this community. May we'll never know any more pain like this. On the contrary, show how now it's our turn, this community's turn, to demonstrate this type of superhuman strength that drove Rashi, as we've just heard, in such moving ways, and will continue to drive us for many years until we are Zeich and merit, as Rabbi Nu said, in this month of Nisan, when we celebrate Passover, to celebrate the true redemption, personal and global redemption, together with Rashi, together with her grandmother, together with her grandfather, together with all the souls that paid such dear prices. Everyone in this room knows the souls that preceded us, to be reunited with them, with the Geula Amitis Vashlema, may it be before Pesach.
My name is Lakey Dunnan, and I am Hershey's sister. They talk about how you don't know what you have until it's gone. No one talks about when you do know what you have and then it's gone. Rashi, you were always fun to be around. You were smart to have conversations with. And you were so chilled, so chilled. Thank you for those long, hard trips in the Minkmobile. You just knew that being with family was so important. Thank you for welcoming us always with open arms, an open heart, and an open house. Your passion, your dedication, your love was so real, and we love you for it. We strive to continue your legacy. We hope to make you proud. We knew what we had. Dearest Alpharetta community, we are not physically here all the time, and you are. Thank you for being Hershey and Rashi's family for all these years. Rashi considered you all her brothers and sisters. Please keep it up. Hershey, you have always been the rock of our family, our support, our inspiration. Through life's ups and downs, we always knew we had you to rely on. Through thick and thin, you have made it your mission to ensure peace and closeness in our family. Being together with you and Rashi and the kids was always fun and adventurous, and most of all, loving. We want you to know that from the bottom of our hearts, we pledge that we are all here for you, and we always will be. We love you.
The program will continue. We're going to hear from Rabbi Hershey and Rashi's children, starting with Naftali.
Hi everyone, my name is Rashi Minkowicz, and I remember all of the good memories me and my mother had together. She was the best mother anyone could ever have. Now that she's not here, something's wrong. I just feel it. If it wasn't for her, the camp wouldn't be how it is. The Sunday school wouldn't be how it is. Just think about it. And if it wasn't for her, I wouldn't be standing here right now. No one from my family would be standing here. I remember when every day when I came home from school, she'd be waiting for us. And I remember when she always would drink out of big tea mugs every day. And one more thing. The last time I saw her on that same day, and every night when I'm done Shema, I look up at the sky and I tell my mother, I'm sorry for everything I did.
Tanya.
mother loved to shop, and one of the things she loved to shop for was shoes. If you've been in my house, and this is odd, but one of my bathrooms in my house is shoes, and isn't it odd? Anyway, let's get back to the memories. If you walked in any of the kids' room right now and walked in their closet, what do you think you'll see? If you are thinking shoes, that's correct. Another memory is that she loved to do art. It runs in the family, and I'm sure most of you have been in my kitchen. And if you haven't been, I need to give you a tip. The walls are art from school or from camp. Let me share one or two last good memories. A good memory is that she would drink tea in these huge glass mugs, and I asked my father, what are we going to do with all these mugs? And my father said, we will all sit around the table and drink tea in these big glass mugs. Well, I have so many memories I can't share all of them, or we will be here for hours. So one last memory, she would cook for shul every Shabbos, and people would ask, how do you do it? This isn't the exact answer, but something like this. I don't give up, and I get help from my Maurice. That's a babysitter / cleaning lady / baker or cook or whatever. We learn never to give up and be strong.
Henya.
Hi, my name is Rashi Minkowicz, and the last time I saw my mother, me and Tanya were helping my mother clean for her Tuesday class, and she didn't feel so good, so she went to her room to lay down. And I went to her room to ask her if everyone should stay or leave, so she said that they should stay. So I asked her if me and Tanya should do it, since I didn't want her to do it since she was sick. So me and Tanya taught everyone how to make hamantashen, and that was the last time I saw my mother. And some happy memories that I had with her was one time on Chol Hamoed Pesach, I went with my family and some cousins to go strawberry picking, and it was really fun. We wanted to eat our strawberries there, but there was no water to wash them. So luckily we had a water bottle with us. So my mother said that we should wash them with the water bottle, and so we did, and we had a blast. Another fun memory is that my mother loved to shop for shoes, so every day she would buy herself another pair of shoes. So that was fun because she would also buy me and Tanya shoes. And if you would walk into her closet, all you would see is a bunch of shoes. And one more memory is that my mother loved drinking out of big mugs, so my father said that one night we should all drink out of a big mug to remember that she would drink out of big mugs. And I'm really lucky to have my mother I'm really lucky to have her as my mother.
Yo.
It was about 3 weeks ago, and this year I'm in middle school, and in my school we the first 3 hours of the day we learn Hebrew and general studies, and then in the afternoon we have 5 periods of English, language arts, math, and so and so. So about 3 weeks ago, for one of my classes I had to make a scrapbook for one of the countries in South America, and we had finished, and we were talking about like my grades in school, because in 2 of my classes I didn't have the best grades. So we were talking about my grades, and then we had finished, and then my mother said, don't give up no matter what situation you're in. And then she said goodnight and went to sleep. The next day, my science class, we had an in-school field trip where people came with telescopes and we looked at the stars. And so this was on Tuesday night. So that night I didn't go home. Right after school I went to my friend's house and played, and then after the trip I went to my other friend's house, a different friend's house, and I slept there for the night. After the trip, I had gone to my friend's house, and I had fallen asleep, and my friend's father woke me up and said that that my mother wasn't feeling well. I got all my stuff and I came home, and as soon as I got home, I asked my father what had happened, and he told me what happened, and as soon as he told me, I remembered that the last thing my mother ever told me was never give up no matter what situation you're in, and because of that, that's how I'm still keeping it strong till today. And as soon as I came back last week, I got my rubric grade sheet from my scrapbook, and on the bottom it said you had did a very fantastic job, and you had got a 98. So. So I want that 98. Actually, my mother helped me on most of basically all the scrapbooks. So really, she got that 98 on me. So just remember never to give up, no matter what situation you're in.
Mendel.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for coming to this memorial service in honor of my mother. I would like to start off with giving toast to all the people from day one that took their time, even for 30 seconds, to help. Thank you, Jocelyn Shorvitz, for stepping up to the plate to figure out what we will have for dinner every night, who will buy groceries for us, and etc. Devorah Thaler and Rabbi Thaler, from the night it happened. When I was about to go to sleep, I was saying the Shema prayer, and I heard my father telling someone the address, so I went to see because I just wanted to know why at 11:30 at night my father would be telling someone the address to the house. He was calling the ambulance, and I saw him touching my mother, and I got scared, so I ran to the Thaler's house because I don't like the sirens and stuff. Luckily, the Thalers were up at 11:30, so I stayed there till everyone left. Rabbi Thaler and Mrs. Thaler, you guys were lifesavers. There are so many people to thank. Sorry if I didn't say your name, but the whole community, you guys are amazing. On the day that this happened, Tuesday that this happened, when I got home, I didn't ask my brother, but I stole his ripstick and started using it. When I was driving, I flipped off and hurt myself really badly. And my mother was sleeping because she had a really bad headache, so I waited till she came out. Then before my mother's Torah and tea class, my mother came outside for a little bit to see if anyone came, and I told her what happened. She said she would help me, but she couldn't stay outside, so she will come back out. But God had different plans. And today I'm standing here, 14 years old, staying strong and hoping to build this new campaign that I began. Here's another story of how I started the campaign. It was the night after the funeral and the first day of Shiva, and I was sitting and I came up with an idea to start the campaign again in honor of my mother. I made some phone calls with good supporters and friends of my father, and I started the campaign. I got in touch with my good friend Moshe Bari, who has a real designing business, and he made me a website which is called rashiscampus.com. By the way, for everyone to know, this whole campaign thing, my father didn't help with one thing. Only me, my brother Yoli, and Moshe after the website. Only me, Yoli, and Moshe. After the website, Moshe made a Facebook page. The first day, we got 100 likes. In like 5 minutes, we got another 100 likes. And then 100 likes every like 5 minutes. The last time I checked, we had like 1,000 likes from my campaign. Since I started that night, we have $50,000 raised plus $1 million from last year. That's a total of $1,050,000. I tried very hard. I tried very hard to get more money raised by the time this event happened, but this is where I got so far. I would like to thank everyone for donating, and I would like to ask you to all to please help me build a center in memory of my mother. You can visit Rashi's campus and make my wish come true. Thank you for coming.
We will now hear from Rashi herself. I have been requested to ask you to kindly pay particular attention to the amazing significance of Rashi's words when she talks recently at the memorial for her uncle, who passed away at a young age, and where they also wrote a Sefer Torah.
On August 24th, 1998, the 2nd of Elul, 5758, Rashi Minkowicz and her husband Hershey celebrated their first wedding anniversary. They celebrated on an airplane because on that same day they left their families in Crown Heights, New York and moved to Alpharetta, Georgia, with the goal of establishing a Chabad center to help build the local Jewish community. Nearly 16 years later, on March 11, 2014, as Rashi hosted her signature Torah and tea class in her home, she tragically left this world and her soul returned to heaven.
please God to give us the strength to continue following in his path despite the darkness in the world that we live in. We all know it's a crazy, upside down, turbulent world, and it's hard to get through. But when you have a WhatsApp chat with your Zaidi and you know that his soul is there, giving you the strength to get through whether it's giving somebody advice or just making you feel comfort, we know that he's there, we know that he's with us, and on this beautiful occasion where we're celebrating the writing of Sefer Torah, and we know that the Neshama of Zaidi and the Neshama of Shaya Gansberg, who started and spearheaded this project, is looking down and knowing, and not just looking down, they're probably here, because even though they're not within a physical body, their souls are here with us even more, and they're living with the times, and they're celebrating with us, and they can look down with all the nachas that they're getting and know that they are truly being emulated, and what they left is continuing on, and may we all merit to meet Mashiach speedily in our days so we can celebrate with them in a physical body in real time. So thank you very much.
Per the teachings of Judaism infused with Hasidic thought, we are committed to turning darkness into light, sadness into joy, and pain into growth. We mourn her passing, but we celebrate her life and commit ourselves to bringing her legacy and life mission to full fruition as we continue building the North Fulton Jewish community.
Doing it for Rashi.
Doing it for Rashi. Doing it for Rashi.
Doing it for Rashi. Doing it for Rashi.
Doing it for Rashi.
Well, once again, I get the hard job. I have to follow all that. But then again, I didn't sign up for Disneyland when I took this job, so. But Dina, to answer your question, I'm overwhelmed right now, so. I guess, first of all, I should begin by getting the big elephant out of the room. And this is a question that we've gotten from many people, so I assume it might be on some people's minds. So let's take care of business first. The Minkowicz family is here to stay in Johns Creek. We're going nowhere. My kids and I we both see this place as our home, and this is where we want to keep Rashi's legacy alive. And therefore, as I said, we're here, and we're here until the time that the mission is over, and that is when Mashiach comes, speedily in our days. During the Shiva, while we were sitting Shiva in New York, I got a phone call from a friend of mine who might be watching this live because this is being broadcast live. I have a friend, a classmate, who I grew up with 3 doors down from me, and he is a rabbi in a small city called Temecula, California, and a very good friend of mine. And unfortunately, last year, on the day that he turned 40, he was diagnosed with Lou Gehrig's disease, ALS, a very, very bad form of ALS. And he has been an inspiration to all, but oddly, the one that should be providing the support to other people, he, in his state of not being able to speak anymore, he only communicates through texting, because everything is gone physically. He's writing me messages of support while I'm sitting Shiva for my wife. And he writes to me a message and he says, and Yitzi, I hope you're watching this one, Hershey, I hope you realize that you were chosen by Hashem in some way to accomplish amazing things. Of course, in your community, but also worldwide. We're rallying behind you, so please think big. This is a man who, as I say, knows what he's facing, his challenge of being, unfortunately, almost totally handicapped because of Lou Gehrig's. And he's writing to me that I was chosen for this mission. Now, let me tell you, Yitzi, I hope you're watching this. I wish I would have been selected for other missions. And I'm sure you probably wish you would have been selected for other missions as well. But I actually know exactly what you mean when you say that. A young mother living in a small town in suburban Atlanta, and by the way, to honor our place of residence, it's not just Alpharetta. The Chabad is actually in Johns Creek, and we have the mayor of Johns Creek here today, so we want to recognize that as well. And he's one of the tribe as well, so I want to be on good terms with him. But a young mother in a small town in suburban Atlanta passes away, and there's the grief, the mourning, the sadness, all the terrible, hard things that we've gone through. And yet, amidst all the mourning and the sadness, we find this tremendous kind of inspiration going on all over the world. As it was mentioned on the video, Rashi's legacy class, Torah and Tea, has now begun in, they said 200 cities because, by the way, my brother-in-law, Moshe Raskin, made this video in about 3 days. And in these 3 days, the classes, I think, went now from 200 to 300 from all over the world where these Torah and Tea classes are going. So, yes, I understand that there's a mission here. It's a painful mission that I need to be involved with, but I do recognize that that is what I'm right now facing and heading, and I accept it with dignity, and I understand the task and the responsibility that I have ahead of me. I got so many, thousands of emails from people that I know and that I don't know, and I'm not going to sit and read you all the thousands because I want you out of here on time, and I want to keep you as friends for a long time, but just two quick ones that come to my head. There was one fellow that wrote me a letter, and in it there was a check for $100, and he wrote the following. He's a rabbi. He says, I don't have a lot of money, so I'm sending you $100, but what I'm also sending you is a pledge that I am going to begin to teach 10 new classes for the 10 people in your family, 8 children, myself, and Rashi. So I don't even know this guy. I don't even know this man, and this is the way he expresses himself to me. Rashi passed away. It was right before Purim. Her funeral was on the fast of Esther. The night before the funeral, Tracy Shapiro called me and told me that a friend of hers told her she had never in her life fasted on Tainus Esther, and that year she was going to fast in memory of Rashi. And these are things that are happening all over the place. You saw the Facebook page and what's going on over there, and when I checked last, there was 4,800 members that signed up to this page called A Mitzvah for Rashi, where you take on a good deed in memory of her, and then you sign up and you see all the other things as it happens. As of the last check, 4,800. You know, you obviously see the significance in the number 48. 4,800 people already signed up to become members of that site. So many of you probably know I'm a technology guy and I like gadgets and slideshows. So I just figured that for my speech tonight, to make it also easier on myself, I'm going to use the PowerPoint. It's going to help me out a little bit. So just to start off on the lighter side, I had one of her friends, because I remember this from the past, I had one of her friends find the yearbook from the year when Rashi graduated. You'll be able to see everything. If you can, I'll read it out loud. So this is the page that it said about Rashi. This is her picture, her bio. One line that I thought was interesting was where it says class occupation, and I'll just highlight that, class mediator, loved by all. So you look around this room and you can understand why that would make a lot of sense, loved by all. Then I found something funny. There's a page in the yearbook called Last Will and Testament, where each girl, basically the class, asked them what would be the thing that they're looking forward to in life. And for Rashi Lieberman at the time, it said, and we're just going to blow that up, it said, Rashi Lieberman, a guy that doesn't drink. Don't know why you find it all so funny. I guess I'll be doing a lot of that going forward now. All right, but on a more serious note, you know, Rashi would go to New York sometimes for the Women's Convention or for other things, and I'm a man, I'm a tough guy, I'm a macho guy, and she'd go away for 3-4 days, and I'd make it a point to never ever call one time to whine and complain about how hard it is to take care of all these kids all by myself, because come on, big deal, you know? So I would swallow it and I would hold it in, and it was not one phone call ever. Let me tell you, this is a tough job. This is a tough job. I knew she was coming home on the plane on Sunday or Monday, or somehow or another. I knew how to push through the time, all this kind of magic of Operation Kill Time, until she arrived. She thought I was macho, but really it was a hard job. The other morning in carpool, I was driving my kids to school, and I overhear one of my boys, Naftali, saying, I really feel bad for Alter and David because they're not going to get a chance for mommy to decorate their siddur when they go to first grade and they have like a project to decorate their siddur. This is what the kids are talking to each other. I don't know the answer to that, but I know that I can tell Alter and David that I will decorate their siddur. And I don't know how it's going to look when it's finished, but I know that it will be done with the love of two people that they deserve to have like the rest of their siblings. When we were at the funeral home on the day of the funeral, we were sitting in a side room, and my son, Shia, points to a stack of boxes on the wall, and he says, hey, Ta, what's that? I said, oh, those are special kinds of clothing that they dress someone in when they're going to be buried. And he said, and what's so special about that? There's nothing special about anything of this. There really isn't. I don't know how we're going to manage. I'm not sure how we're going to proceed, but I do know that we will manage and we will proceed. There are so many things that I want to talk about, and again, there were a lot of speeches, and I'm sure there'll be more opportunities in the future, so I don't want to hold you long. Those of you that heard the Sloppy Joe story, that's a home run. If you haven't heard it, ask someone to send it to you, or it's on Facebook. But I want to talk now about Torah and Tea just for a minute, because that was Rashi's favorite program, the Torah class that she gave at our house every Tuesday night. She passed away during the class. That's the reality. She prepared the class, she set it up, and the first thing I want to say is that, number one, as a result of this, of course, we have now all over the world these classes starting, and people are studying more Torah and connecting to their heritage, all as a result of an inspiration that began because of the fact that this woman, who many of them never met and don't even know who it is, but this was her favorite class, someone even made a website where they list all the Torah and Tea. Now, when I say someone that I personally don't know. If you've ever been to Venice in Italy, there's a Chabad house in Venice. The wife of the rabbi, who I don't know, I was in Venice one time and I did not meet the wife. The wife of the rabbi decided to make a blog called TorahNT.wordpress.com, and she lists all the Torah NTs that are being started in memory of her. Now, to make things simple for all of you, we have a couple of website people in our family, and we made it very simple. There's a new website, RashiMinkowicz.com. And from there, you could link into all these websites. If you want to read the list of the Torah NTs or the Rashi's campus or all the other things, just go to RashiMinkowicz.com, and from there you can link to everything. But in any event, I want to say something to my daughters, Henya and Tanya, because, you know, the night that it happened, as Henya said in her speech, the class was ready to go, and Rashi wasn't feeling well, and she had a headache. What do? We need to go to Plan B. Now, Plan B couldn't be that I should teach the class, because the problem was that teaching I could do a little bit, but that night they were supposed to bake Hamantaschen, and baking is not my thing. So what do? We need to go to Plan B. And somehow or another, I found out tonight in the speech that Henya, actually, I did not know this. By the way, the kids wrote the speeches all by themselves. And I only saw it because I printed out for them on the sheet. I did not edit it or anything. This was their own thoughts. I only found out from Henya's speech that she actually asked Rashi if they should do the class, and Rashi said yeah. And luckily, I was smart enough to take a picture that night. And here you can see some pictures of the kids doing the Torah and tea, making the Hamantaschen. There's one, should be two, and then a little zoom up right there. That's Henya and Tanya making the Hamantaschen that night, March 11th. And what this leads me to say to you is that it fascinates me that not only, could you imagine what this is, that not only did Rashi unknowingly prepare so many things for this transition that we have to go through now. I mean, it's fascinating, the things that I can tell you, and I'll tell you some of them shortly. But she even handed over, that night, she handed over her legacy class, the class that she loved most. She handed it over to her two daughters that they should be managing and in charge of making sure the class continues. And this might sound interesting to you, but Henya and Tanya on their own said to me during the Shiva that they themselves want to teach the class once a month, the Torah NT class in our house. So what else did she prepare? Let's talk about the camp. You know, we have a fantastic camp. We started it many years ago with 6 children. Lori was one of the 6. We grew it into a very large camp. Over the years, we've had the good fortune of having the Thaylors move here, who ran the camp for us for several years. They're going to be moving soon. Rashi took back the camp and was managing the camp. And for some unexplainable reason, in January, which is not typically how we did it, in January, she had the entire schedule for this summer's camp planned down to the last trip. The buses were reserved. Here's a schedule that she made. She had this designed and made that has all the weeks of the camps, every day of the week, what they're going to be doing, which we don't usually have it late January, early February. But for some unexplainable reason, this was all prepared so that this should be able to continue despite her absence. It was mentioned in the video, on the subject of the camp, it was mentioned in the video about Rashi's legacy grant. So this is something very exciting that I'm very happy to be able to tell you tonight. A friend of our camp that believes very strongly in Jewish children being able to get a Jewish camp, also is a big fan of the way Chabad runs camps, called me after Rashi's passing and offered the following, that for this summer, no matter who you are, how much you make, how much you don't make, no matter who you are, what your financial level is, camp is going to be subsidized. It's going to be cost Rashi's life, Rashi's legacy. It's going to cost $180 a week to send your kid to camp. The difference is going to be subsidized by this unnamed individual that wants to make this happen. So every kid in North Fulton, if you haven't signed up yet, sign up now. There's plenty of slots available, but sign up now. And to answer all of you, the Jewish minds are already working. Those that did sign up on the old rate, the computer will be updated to the new rate. You'll get a refund if you paid. This is good as cash. It's in the bank. And seriously, let's help Rashi's legacy continue. We have a program in place for the summer. 2 of my married sisters are moving down here for the summer to direct the camp. Rashi hired the entire staff, which again usually happens later in the spring. She hired the entire staff late January, so the whole camp is ready to go. We just need to reach the first day at the end of June and start. If you have children that want to go to camp, afford or no afford, it's affordable now. So please tell yourself and tell your friends this is where you want to be this summer, at least for a couple of weeks, to enjoy Rashi's legacy. On the subject of the camp, I just want to make one interesting observation. You know that it's become now lore, or not just lore, but good information that goes around the Chabad world, that the girls that come to work from New York in the summer camp in Alpharetta have the best time from any other staff that ever travel anywhere. And trust me, they travel all over the world. Now, I'm told that so much so that several counselors, past counselors that worked in our camp in the past years, flew in today to be here at the memorial event. And I'd just like to ask them to stand so we know how many of you came. If you're a past counselor, stand up, don't be shy. Everybody wants to see, don't be shy. We were sitting Shiva in New York, unfortunately, and it came out the week of Purim. Purim in New York, that's the place to be. If you go Purim to New York, you're not putting in your yearbook that you don't want to marry someone that drinks. The whole community is in a festive spirit. Everybody gets dressed in their costumes, and they're having fun, and they're going to parties, and they're doing all sorts of things. One of the mitzvahs of Purim is also to give charity. So people go around and they collect. I get a WhatsApp on my phone. Yes, I have WhatsApp. I get a WhatsApp on my phone during, we're at home. I didn't want to go out to the festivities, of course, because of what I was going through. And I get a WhatsApp on the phone. Somebody sends me a picture and says, look what's going on Kingston Avenue. So some of our past counselors are standing with a box, Chabad of Alpharetta. They don't know about Johns Creek, I guess. Chabad of Alpharetta. And they're collecting money because the Minkowitzes are sitting Shiva. They're collecting money so that some of the charity that gets given on Purim should be to help continue the legacy of Rashi. This is girls that spent one summer here in camp and were so inspired that that's what they did with their day off when you should be having fun. They were standing on the avenue collecting money for our community here, for most of you that they never ever met. One of the counselors told me that when she told her family that Rashi had passed away, her little niece, who I think is 6 or 7 years old, said that she's so sad because she was always looking to grow up so she could become an adult and go work in Rashi's camp. Now, people always like hearing my stories of divine providence. I mean, I think the story from the police officer tonight probably took the cake from anything I've ever told you in years. But let me just tell you some other interesting or peculiar things that happened to me during this whole episode. There is a tradition in Chabad that we study the book of Maimonides, the Rambam, the Yad HaChazaka, Mishnah Torah. We study it 3 chapters a day on a cycle. And every year we complete the whole book of Rambam. We start again. And I have been doing this for many, many, many years now, thank God. And then Rashi passed away. During Shiva, one is not allowed to study Torah, believe it or not. So I could not study Rambam during that week. And then I fell behind a couple of other days in the chaos. Anyway, finally, we're coming back home to North Fulton. We get onto a plane last Monday, and I finally could sit down and start studying again because I have to catch up on my studies. And on my phone, I have the Rambam Maimonides book downloaded, and Maimonides discusses the entire length and breadth of Jewish law. How you make Passover, how you make Shabbat, how you make tefillin, how you wear tzitzis, how you make a mezuzah. Every single detail of Jewish law is in the book of Maimonides. I turn on my phone and I start studying the section of Maimonides for that day, and this is one of the things that it says there. When a man's wife dies, he is obligated to bury her and to have eulogies and lamentations performed, as is the local custom. He must have her buried in a manner appropriate to her social standing. This is coincidentally, which is a treif word in my dictionary, this is the law that I'm reading on the plane on the way back from just having gone to do this. And you know, as I told some of you, it was a struggle for us because our life is here. And yet, because of the culture where we come from and where our roots are from, what was befitting for her whatever that word was, the social standing, was for her to be buried back in New York in the Chabad cemetery. Right there, that was the law that Maimonides is talking about, the day that I'm flying home from New York for this miserable trip that we were there. Another thing, Rashi passed away on the 10th of Adar. The Hebrew date is the 10th of Adar. The very, very first book that the Rebbe wrote, even before he became the Rebbe, was a book called Hayom Yom, and it's a daily diary of inspiration. It's like an inspiration for every day of the year. For every single day of the year is an inspiration. This is the insert, the words of inspiration for the day that she passed away. Hayom Yom, 10th of Adar. Before embarking on a journey from your place of residence, arrange a Hasidic farbrengen and receive a parting blessing from your good friends. And as the familiar expression goes, Hasidim never say farewell, for they never depart from each other. Wherever they are one family. Imagine that. This is the night that she passed. And how did she pass away? She organized a gathering in the house, the Torah and tea, where the friends and acquaintances can come and to be there. And that's exactly what the daily inspiration for that day, written how many years ago? 65, 70 years ago, this book was written. There's an inspiration for each day. That happens to be the inspiration for the day that before you go somewhere, we don't say goodbye. First of all, you get everyone together so you can get greetings, but we don't say goodbye because wherever we are, we're one family. That is one of those things that sends chills down my spine and might have been a little bit of inspiration for you. Now I'm going to tell you something more on the lighter side. I have not much left, don't worry. If you're looking at the clock, we're almost done. This is more on the lighter side, but I think I want to share it with you anyway, because I'm a computer guy. You know that recently I fell in love with an app called Bitstrip. Now, Bitstrip is an app where the phone makes these little comics, and you can insert your face and use it as like a PR thing and make a little message. So for example, I made a face of mine, and this is what I used to just start hyping Purim in our community. So, see, I was in New York, we were buying costumes, so they make these things and you stick your face in. Anyway, one day, about 2 or 3 weeks before Rashi passed away, I log in and I noticed that you get a notice that Rashi just joined Bitstrips also. So when someone else joins, you can make a comic that has 2 people in it, yourself and the other person. So I go ahead and I make this comic and I post it on my Facebook, and this is what it says. We're going out to a restaurant, and it says, Rabbi is glad that Rashi joined the imaginary world. More kosher restaurants here than in Atlanta. Now, obviously, I was trying to make fun of Atlanta, that we don't have much kosher here to eat, but Rabbi is glad that Rashi has joined the imaginary world. Rabbi is not glad that Rashi joined the imaginary world, but that's what I did. But that's nothing. That's nothing. The morning of the funeral, she was buried on a Thursday morning. I wake up, I didn't sleep. I lift my body out of my bed, and I'm starting to get my kids ready, and I had to call one of my brothers, so I hit the phone, and for whatever reason, instead of hitting the phone, by mistake, I hit the Bitstrip app. You could be sure the day of the funeral, I'm not going to Bitstrip. This was an absolute mistake, or you would think it's a mistake. I hit the app, and this is what comes up on the screen, because the app proposes to you how to use the last comic that they just created. So this is what it shows. A half of a person, Rabbi feels incomplete, and up there is me and her, because that was the last one that I had done, was in the restaurant thing. Rabbi feels incomplete. 8 o'clock in the morning, we're heading out to the funeral home at 8:30. This is what shows up on my phone. To those of you that think I'm crazy, I am, but to those of you that get it, you get it. Anyway, before I start getting to the close, I just want to say a couple of things, something personally to all of you. Because this is being broadcast live, I want to talk for a minute about where we were during the Shiva. We went back to our roots, we went back to our home. And you know, when you come from New York, you come from any place, you could leave the place, but the place never really leaves you. And of course, we always live, and all of you always joke with us that we live, you know, half a heart here, half a heart in New York. But the experience that I had in the time that I was in New York, the overwhelming love, compassion, support, and care that came out of every single corner of the community and beyond is just amazing. I can't even begin to describe it. I have two friends that are here tonight. They arrived at the airport. When I walked out of the plane with all my kids that Wednesday night, we arrived in New York to be for the funeral. So this is New York already. There was Port Authority, there was connections, they had people waiting by the gate, they shoot us through. I come downstairs and two of my friends were standing there, which I did not expect to see them. They haven't left my side, not physically, but emotionally, since that moment. And they're here tonight, and I want to say thank you to them. They don't like being mentioned, so I'm not saying their names. Not just them, the entire community. So what happened, the last night, I'm about to go home, and there was another tragedy. A young woman from Australia, she died, and the family was sitting Shiva in New York. So I figured, you know, I should go give them some support and comfort. So I go down to the house, and I do a Shiva call, and a classmate of mine, who I think was supposed to be here, I don't know if he's here, he says, hey, you know what, I'm going to give you a ride home. So he gives me a ride home. We arrive in front of my father-in-law's house where we're staying, and he just wants to catch like a 2-minute conversation with me. So that extra 2-minute delay, a car pulls up behind, and you know what happens in New York. I mean, you know the definition of what it means, a split second. The time it takes from when the light turns green till they start beeping you already in New York. So the minute you see headlights in the back, you know you got to move because you're going to be in big trouble soon. But this car is sitting there, and they're not in front. I get out of the car, and this young boy jumps out of the car that was driving the other car when he saw it was me. And he says, you don't know me, I don't know you, but I just want to be part of your family's life and help you a little bit. And he shakes my hand, and there's a $100 bill in his hand. This is a 19, 20-year-old boy. When I was 19, I wasn't giving away, I didn't even have $100, but if I had, I wasn't giving it away to anybody. You could be sure. And I know this boy, I asked him what his name is, and if I say it now, it's broadcast all over, and he's going to be inundated with dating calls, so I'm not going to do it, but... But anyway, so I started to wonder, what's going to happen when we have to go home? I mean, we got accustomed to this pampering and care and love, and what's going to happen now when we go back to Johns Creek, Alpharetta? How are we going to survive? And because, you know, you go through years and years of work, and you know what's out there, but you don't really know until you need it. And we came back, and I say to every single one of you that the sense of, first of all, the sense of being cared for and loved and all that stuff was amazing. But more importantly, if ever we had a question about 15, 16, almost 16 years now living here in the community, what did we achieve? Of course, I could look around the room today and see, and many of you told me you can't make it tonight and you're watching it online, but to be able to be the recipient of the tremendous outpouring. I'm told that there's one of these care calendars, a sign-up genius, that they're already booking dates into 2015 to be able to provide us lunch and dinner on this and this dates. And then the rabbis and all the shluchim and their wives and all the other rabbis in the other communities, and from right here from Alpharetta, Rabbi Michael flew up to the funeral. I mean, it's unbelievable the kind of support that we were getting. And I realized then that, you know, there's a saying that one time in the old day, there was a guy that was in Russia and he wanted to emigrate to Israel and he couldn't make it. There's that, and he went to see the Rebbe, and the Rebbe told him, Mach da Eretz Yisrael, make Israel here. If you can't get to Israel, make the spirit of Israel here. And I realized that after all this hard work that Rashi and I put in all these years, we made the spirit of a truly, really powerful Jewish community right here in this North Fulton place. I have a lot more to say, but again, I'm smart enough to know when it's time to start winding down. But I just want to say a couple of other quick things. Just some take-home messages. The very last Shabbos that Rashi was alive, you know, we have the good fortune that my house is directly behind. If you know our setup, God really took care of us well when we bought our house. It's right behind the Chabad house, and we walk out our back door, and we're in the shul. We have the shortest and longest walk of anyone in the world. Shortest because it's only about 50 feet. Longest because we cross the line from Alpharetta to Johns Creek, so we go 2 cities. We go 2 cities in 50 seconds. Okay. And you know, after a good kiddush and a little chayim and a little cholent, you know, you're a little bit, you know, you're lazy. So every single week we take the shortcut home. I don't know what happened, but now I know. The very, very last Shabbos, uncharacteristically for me and for my wife, we say, you know what, let's walk the long way. The long way means to walk on Jones Bridge, down Waters, into Lauren Hall, all the way up. A 10, 12-minute walk when it could be 30 seconds. Should we not? Yeah, let's just enjoy some quiet time together. And there was even one woman in the community, she was there, you know, we said, come walk with us. And she said, no, enjoy the time together yourself. And that was it, that was Shabbos. She passed away Tuesday night. So I thought to tell you, use out spontaneous moments to spend some quality leisure time with your spouse or someone that you love. It's moments that you'll cherish, things that you don't typically do. Just go to the park one day, take a long walk, do something, because these are things that you never know. Of course, you never know. It shouldn't end this way, but it's cement those relationships by doing these kind of casual things. That's number one. Number two, what I want to share with you at the end is to give people positive feedback. You know, we live in a community for a long time, and I know Jews have certain traditions, and, you know, we're more of complainers than complimenters and stuff like that. Compliment is a much longer word than complain. But really, I'm so over, every single night I have things that I want to forward to Rashi that, oh my God, I wish she would be able to see this. And I know she could, because from up there she could see everything. But if someone did a kindness to you, someone does something nice to you, reach out to them, tell them, you know, I really appreciate what you did, you're a good guy. You're not. Point these things out, because you'd be surprised. Every human being wants to have positive reinforcement, wants to know that they're accomplishing things, and we just take that for granted, that the good stuff they know, we should just point out things that need to be fixed. But take this from me, a lesson again in the way this whole thing, what happened by us, that share positive feedback with someone whenever you can. Another thing I want to tell you, these are all materialistic things, they're not spiritual. This is something that I want to tell you again. Another thing is that I want to make a recommendation to every single one of you, that you get into the habit that every day when you come home from work, from 6 o'clock to 8 o'clock, shut your phone off and spend time with your kids. Spend time with your kids. My kids wrote speeches tonight. I did not know one word they were writing. They sat down by a computer, they typed up some memories, and they printed, or I printed it for them, but they sent it to me, and that's what they spoke. These are the years your kids are getting their memories of what their childhood with their parents is like, and they don't need to know that most of the time you spend on your phone. We tried very hard to do that. Of course, I'm going to try even harder now, but use out those are the 2 hours when everyone's home, the kids' dinner, homework, and all that kind of stuff. Being that we studied Mishnah, just to end off with a word of Torah, and then I just have an announcement that I want to make. There's a Mishnah at the end of the tractate of Kinim that says, a ram, the animal, the ram, kishehu chai, when the animal is alive, kolo echad, it has one sound. An animal makes a sound. Ukishehu mate, but when the animal is dead, kolo shiva, it can make 7 different types of sounds. So how could that be? How could an animal make one sound when it's alive and 7 sounds when it's not alive anymore? And the Mishnah explains, Rabbi Yeshua said, because once it's not alive, first of all, you take 2 horns, so each horn makes its own sound, and 2 trumpets, and it goes through different parts of the body, which I don't want to bother you with gruesome biology right now, how you can use different parts of the body to make different types of sounds. And I thought about this Mishnah because one of the things that was a recurring thing that people always said about Rashi over and over and over again was that she was a very, very blunt, said it the way it is, in your face, harsh reality, right? Lowering your standards, all that stuff that you heard. That was her. She was kolo echad. She had one way, the way she spoke. See, I'm different. I speak 1,000 different languages. To every single person, somehow I adjust the way I speak, because I try to adapt to the way that person wants to hear. She was like, this is me, this is who I am, this is how I talk. And I always used to think that, you know, that might be, some people might not know how to handle it, might not know how to take it. She had kolo echad. When she was alive, she had one voice. How many 37-year-old women pass away? Shouldn't be that many. How many would pass away at an age like this and have thousands of different types of Jews from different walks of life, different backgrounds, that speak different languages, that have different approaches to God, different approaches to Torah, different approaches to everything, and yet they found a connection in this one single woman. Kishahu Chai, this ram, when alive, had one voice, Ukishahu mate. But now that this ram is not alive anymore, you see, Kolo Shiva, you see multiple different sounds from the different people that were being touched and inspired and influenced by her. And that to me was amazing. And I can't also help but tell you that it struck me, my classmates sprung this beautiful treat on me that we're writing a brand new Torah, which is an unbelievable merit to her soul. We wrote the first word tonight, Bereshit. And I didn't make a slide for it, but I should have. How do you spell Bereshit? Just take off the first letter and the last letter. What do we have left in the middle? Rashi. Bereshit. Reish Aleph Shin Yud is Rashi. Bereshit. This is Rashi's Torah. The legacy of Torah will live on in her. Thank you. Before I give back the microphone to our MC and our Gabbai Anthony, who's been like a brother to me from the first day I met him, I just want to say one very, very important announcement. And this I want to say to my son Mendel, but to everyone else here in this room as well. After the funeral, Mendel comes to me and says, actually he didn't come to me. I noticed an email that he sent to one of his friends that says, I am going to build the shul finally, the building that we need. You know, we're in a rundown trailer park. I'm gonna build the place that we need, and I'm calling it Rashi's campus. That's what he said. Now, there's one small little problem, that to build Rashi's campus cost $4 million, but to him, it wasn't an issue. So he takes my phone, this is not a joke, he asks me for some phone number, I didn't know what he wanted, he starts calling my friends, our supporters, please help me build this building in memory of my mother. And he worked very hard. He made a poster, you'll see it on the way out, on his own. Him and his classmate, they made a website, rashiscampus.com. He has business cards. They were supposed to give it out on each chair, but it might be. You have his email address, mendel@rashiscampus.com. He really, really wanted to see this happen. So I just want to tell you where we are with this whole thing. About 2 years ago, we started trying to build a building. At that time, not thinking it's going to be in memory of Rashi. And with a little quiet campaign and things that we were able to accomplish, we were able to line up $1 million worth of pledges towards building a building. But we still needed 3 more, and at that time we were 3.5, it's now 4 million. And I realized that it's just too much, it's a hard task, and the economy went bad, and it wasn't the right time, so sort of it was, you know, creeping along very, very slowly. Fast forward, it's 2014 March, Mendel starts making these phone calls, he starts working aggressively and making it happen. And let me tell you, he pressed some buttons. He pressed some buttons. So he does not know this, neither does anyone else in this room here tonight. But I'm going to tell him right now, I'm going to tell all of you. Yesterday, I was approached by some individuals that have put on the table a challenge grant. So we already have 1 million, we need 3 more. There's $1.5 million now on the table. We have to raise the other $1.5 million, and we have Rashi's campus in memory of his mother. If you would not have done this, Mendel, it never would have started, it never would have happened. I was burnt out. My friends, I remember the famous video from when they redeemed the Kotel in 1967, and you hear the guy saying, HaKotel biyadenu, the Kotel, the wall is in our hands. Rashi's campus is in our hands right now. We have an opportunity we don't want to squander. All we need to raise is $1.5 million. We get the other 1.5, which makes 3. 1 we already have from before, which makes 4. And Rashi's campus will stand, and her legacy will live forever. Thank you.
find my notes here. I'm not Tanya Minkowicz. Okay. I promise you this will be 2 minutes. Like most of you, I'm overcome with so many emotions. Obvious sadness at the void left behind, privilege and honor at the opportunity of having Rashi and the Minkowitzes as not only our religious and spiritual leaders, but also our very close family friends with whom we shared many, but too few occasions with. I'm also truly humbled at standing here before all of you, representing the families and community. Yet, like many that spoke before me, I'm invigorated and inspired by the courage and resilience shown by Rabbi Hershey, his children, and Rashi's parents and siblings. May Hashem grant you all the strength to get through this ordeal, and may we only share simchas together in the future. I would like to close with the same words that I ended our community get-together with a few weeks ago. We need to take heed of the times that we individually called on the leadership of our Rebbetzin during our own trials and tribulations, and the selflessness that she displayed in meting out sound advice, or merely spending her own valuable time assisting us during those troubled moments. The time has come where we as a community take all these lessons and magnificent examples that were set by Rashi, and we should stand up and help and aid each other in this void that we find ourselves. Rabbi Hershey and their 8 beautiful children will need our love and support, and we will all be relying on one another. Let's display for the broader Jewish community that which has made us such a unique and wonderful Jewish beacon of light. Let us lean on each other for support, extend our hands to one another in love, and offer a shoulder to cry on. Let's continue to build this community, and let's build this campus and take a leaf out of Mendel's book, and let's stand up and let's raise this money, and let's finish off and put the Sefer Torah in our new shul before Rashi's Yortzeit. Let's build this community. Let's fulfill the mission of the beautiful neshama of our friend, our inspiration, our leader, and Rebbetzin Rashi Minkowicz. With your mitzvahs, with your outpouring of love, we should merit the imminent and complete redemption with the coming of Moshiach.